So you're going through a breakup with a girl, your mind is in chaos, and you don't know what to do next. I've been there too, and no matter how unique your situation may feel, many other men have been in your exact shoes as well. Now, breakups can and often do feel like the end of the world, but the good news is that they don't have to be, and you can turn this painful experience into a powerful comeback story if you take the right steps. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about what to do when she breaks up with you, so you can get out of the emotional turmoil that you're in, regain your confidence, and come out on the other side stronger than ever. And let's start by clarifying a couple things to lay the foundation. The first thing to understand is that there are all kinds of different breakup scenarios, each with their own specific details. However, in this video, I want to focus on two types specifically. And this is when you have been dumped by a girl or you've been cheated on. And these two scenarios generally occur when a woman has lost some degree of attraction for you in one way or another over time. Now, of course, there may be some guys out there that did something really messed up to push a girl away, but more often than not, it's the girl losing attraction over a longer period of time that leads to her dumping or cheating on you, rather than one incident that just blew everything apart out of nowhere. So with that said, let's talk about the first foundational principle that I want you to keep in mind here, because everything else in this video hinges on this one principle. And that is the fact that you cannot negotiate genuine desire with another person. It would be like if we were friends for a while and you eventually stop liking me and you don't want to be around me anymore. If you do not want to be my friend or be around me, there is nothing I can say to convince your internal desire to suddenly change course and create an intrinsic motivation to genuinely want to be my friend again. Now, the reason I bring this up is because most men will try to plead or beg the girl to stay with him when the breakup occurs. The emotional turmoil can be overwhelming at first, and I know when I was younger, I always felt like I took breakups harder than other people until I gained more perspective as I got older. But I definitely experienced the sting of that initial heartbreak. I'd have insomnia, I wouldn't have an appetite, I'd have no drive to want to do anything that I normally do, and I would just sit there and ruminate on the situation over and over again. Now, that is the exact opposite of what you want to do when going through a breakup, but I wanted to point out the fact that I understand the pain and emotional shock that you go through at first. And because of that shock and pain, it makes sense that guys will try to reason with the woman to try and fix things. The idea is to alleviate the pain as quickly as possible and get back to normal. Or you may feel blindsided like this breakup just came out of nowhere and you're stunned by it and acting out of character. However, you must realize that it didn't come out of nowhere. She was dropping signs for a while, and you were either not paying attention, or you were rationalizing them, or trying to ignore them. And there are many reasons why it's a bad idea to try to convince a girl to stay, but there are a few that you should really remember. The first is that you cannot negotiate desire. As I said before, you cannot convince her to want to be with you. The fact that you're at this point with her is the direct signal for you to start implementing the recovery plan. It's like when you're watching a war movie and there's a bombing raid that is coming towards a city, and they start sounding the sirens to warn everyone to take cover and evacuate. As soon as she says that she wants to break up, the war sirens should be going off in your mind to not negotiate or beg and just simply roll with it. Because genuine desire has been lost to some degree at this point, to where this woman does not want to be with you anymore, and you need to respond accordingly. Now, the second reason why it's a bad idea to try and reason with a girl to stay is that the human brain tends to want things that we cannot have, or things that are stripped away from us. We tend to not appreciate the things that come easily or when people beg us to do something. For example, if a salesman started begging you to buy his product, on some level you would feel like you had the power and that he needed you more than you needed him. It's a natural reaction, and you'd probably either say no or look at other products unless you really wanted that one. But if a salesman is begging you to buy, you probably don't truly want that product in the first place, or you would have already bought it. On the other hand, if the salesman confidently said, "This product is in limited supply and it's only available today," you would feel more urgency to decide and want the product because it's scarce. It's not easily available, which typically motivates people to take action quickly, unlike when the product is always available. Now, bringing this back to a breakup, the best thing you can do when someone doesn't want you is to become scarce and remove yourself from the situation, because it is your only shot at creating a higher perceived value. And this is important because on some level, your value has dropped in her mind, and that's why she left or pursued another person. She viewed the idea of leaving you as the higher value, better choice. So the only way to start recovering is by becoming scarce. She has made her decision, and now she must live with it by feeling your absence. Otherwise, it allows her to have her cake and eat it too. And you don't want to allow yourself to be downgraded to just another option of hers. And let me make something very clear. This isn't to try and get this girl back. If a girl dumps you or cheats on you, I highly, highly recommend you never give this girl the time of day ever again, because there are women that will have a higher level of genuine desire for you and not do what this other girl is doing to you. You have to really keep things in perspective. And what I mean by that is that you have to understand that this isn't the best you can do in life. The best you can do in a relationship isn't a girl who leaves or cheats on you. You can do better, so don't try to get back into a bad situation that sacrifices your dignity and self-respect. Because by doing that, you're basically saying, well, this is the best I can do, and this is all I'm worth. That is the declaration that you are making by not only accepting garbage treatment from this woman, but actively fighting to stay in that situation. So all in all, do not fight to keep this girl around when she decides to leave you. The best thing you can do is help her pack her bags faster in a non-emotional way, which leads me to my next point. And that's when you're going through a breakup, and especially at the beginning, you will go through a whirlwind of emotions. It will feel very similar to someone dying and going through the grieving process, because in a way, something has died. The relationship you had with this girl has come to an end, and in a lot of cases, the girl you thought she was has also died. It's like losing two people at once. The relationship has died, and the image of this girl that you loved has also died. So with that considered, the best thing you can do is to let yourself go through the emotions, but not in front of her. Do not cry in front of her, or send sappy text messages, or post sad memes and songs on social media, or anything else. The reason for this is not to be some tough alpha male guy or whatever. It's to preserve your dignity, begin the process of pulling away, and it's simply not going to be productive. There is no upside to it. Again, you cannot negotiate desire. So crying and saying a bunch of emotional things to this girl isn't going to fix anything. All it's going to do is just make you look weaker, like you can't survive without her, and this isn't good on any level. There's just simply nothing to gain there. Now, when you're alone, let it out. Do what you got to do. Go somewhere and yell if you have to, punch the heavy bag for an hour, whatever it may take. The key is to let yourself feel the emotions and not distract yourself with unhealthy things like drugs and alcohol or other things that just numb the pain. And that can even include something like hooking up with a bunch of random girls, because that's really just another form of a drug when you're in pain. By letting yourself feel all of your emotions, you will set yourself up to get over her and truly heal. You need to keep allowing yourself to feel your feelings and let them out. Otherwise, you turn into a powdered keg that is bound to explode later on, or you'll always want this girl back even though it's a terrible idea. By allowing yourself to go through the emotional process, you're allowing your brain to catch up and realize that this is really over and to move on. The other important thing is having someone to talk to who cares about you and really wants to help you through this and see you become a stronger version of yourself. It has to be someone who is a mix of empathetic, yet realistic and stern enough to tell you when your thinking is getting cloudy and toxic, and when you are slacking on the things that you should be doing. For example, when I was about 20 years old, I went through a rough breakup after being with a girl for a few years, and I stopped working out for a few weeks. And my family were the ones to tell me, hey man, you need to keep doing the things that make you strong. Don't let this girl have that kind of power over you. And that's what drove me to cut the BS and get back in the gym. And you need someone who will be honest with you like that, but also listen to you and not judge you. You need to be able to vent without feeling held back. Again, it's about feeling the true extent of the emotions and purging them out of you in a healthy way, which means voicing them or writing them, and reading can also be good, and just staying on the path that keeps you healthy and strong. Now, the next important point I want to touch on is one that is also a bigger life lesson as a whole. I've had my fair share of struggles in life, and when I say that, I know there are people out there that have had it much worse than me, because pain in this life really has no boundaries, and some of you have been through some incredibly difficult things. In my own life, I've been through chronic illness, betrayal, lots of death, shattered dreams, breakups, and having to start over from scratch multiple times when I thought I should have been further ahead. And the reason I bring this up is to say to you that you have to view this situation that feels very negative as an opportunity for you to become 10 times the man you are now. I've had so many setbacks and disappointments in my life that I now see each one as a chance to rethink things and improve myself to come back 10 times stronger and better. And you have to do this or life will start to crush you. It's how you need to view a breakup as well. It's a blessing in disguise because it's a great time to make a new plan for things that you want to improve or new things that you want to try. This will also keep you busy in a positive way. You'll be working toward productive goals or experiences that build you up and improve your life, rather than distractions that only numb the pain or set you back. And eventually, after some time has passed, you should look at the relationship logically and think about what you could improve on as a man. Now, it's important not to do this right away, because when you get dumped, your mind will start asking yourself, what did I do wrong for this to happen? And you'll blame yourself for things that aren't actually your fault, and your thoughts might not be accurate due to the emotion. That's not to say that you didn't do anything wrong, it's just that you don't want to think about this when your judgment is clouded. And when guys get dumped, there usually are some common areas where they were slacking. Many guys get comfortable in relationships and start to let themselves go physically, or worse, they let their behavior get lazy and careless and they become unattractive in a variety of ways. Other guys might let their social circle shrink after getting into a relationship and then they have no social life once the girl leaves. Other guys may let their ambition fade away and stop exploring new interests or pursuing their goals. Whatever it may be, there is always something to work on after a breakup, and that's where your focus should be. So at this point, ideally, you would avoid begging for your ex back and accept her decision. You would implement no contact. You would go through the emotional process privately and have friends or family you can talk to openly without judgment, who also hold you accountable, and see the situation as a golden opportunity to level up and become a better version of yourself to direct your focus in a positive direction. Now let's talk a bit more about some of the mind games you'll be experiencing and some of the potential mind games that could come from your ex. The first thing I want to acknowledge here is that your mind is going to be a roller coaster because of the grieving process. You may feel great for an hour and then all of a sudden you're feeling hopeless and down again, missing her. Understand that this is normal. You have to expect that to happen, and it will happen less and less over time as long as you're taking the right steps in the right direction. And a big part of that process is maintaining no contact, which I have an entire video series on that I will link at the end of this video, so keep watching for now. But you must understand that your brain is detoxing like it would from a drug. And there was actually research that showed that the human brain responded to love similarly to a cocaine high on an MRI. And love and relationships are like drugs because the highs are very high and the lows are very low. So when you break up with someone, it takes your brain time to adjust to that drug being gone. Just like someone can't kick a heroin addiction in 2 days, it's going to take some time for it to get out of your system, but it will also happen faster than you think if you stick to no contact and you stick to the positive things that I've outlined here. Your brain will eventually get off the drugs and you will get to a point where you can say, I can't believe I ever felt that way or acted like that back then. And I know this because it's happened to me, and it's happened to 100% of the people I've helped work through their breakups. And I've helped both men and women. It seriously never fails across the board. Once the brain clears the drug and you stick to the right path, you will come to a point where you look back on things and it's hard to even remember how badly you felt. Now, this probably won't resonate with you right now because of the pain that you're in, but once you've healed, you will see that there are not only more women out there, but higher quality women who will fit your life in a much better way. But in the meantime, expect the roller coaster and the detox effect because it's just part of it. It absolutely sucks, and sometimes it can feel like you're not going to make it another 60 seconds, let alone another 60 days, but it will pass. Now, the second one is for the guys that got cheated on, and this one is simple but worth driving home. And that is the fact that you will be tempted to be really pissed at the guy that she got with, but you have to avoid being mad at that guy, even if he knew you were together and all that. You have to direct your frustration toward the person who is actually at fault, and that is the woman. It takes two to tango, and it would have never occurred if she didn't allow it to occur. And when I say direct your frustration toward her, I'm not saying to emotionally lash out or harm her in any way. Do not do either of those, nor to the guy. Instead, what I am saying is to understand who is to blame for the cheating. It's 100% on her and no one else. If it wasn't that guy, it would have been another. It doesn't matter who it was. It is simply her fault, and it was a choice that she made because she wanted to make it. Now, the next mind game that can happen is your ex reaching out. If you've truly and honestly stuck to no contact and you haven't been contacting her in any way, there is a good chance that she will reach out at some point to test if you're still there in a way. Of course, this depends on how long you were together and where the girl's own emotional state is at, but sometimes exes will put the feelers out there to see if you're still there for their own comfort. It doesn't happen with every single breakup, but when it does, it's usually because the other person is wondering why you aren't chasing them. They're worried that you might truly be gone because you took their power away by removing yourself and taking control of the situation. Remember, a woman becomes powerful when you don't understand your own power, and she loses power when you're aware of yours. By removing yourself from her life and staying away, you are showing awareness of your own power. You are respecting yourself and your true value by not tolerating poor treatment or disrespectful behavior and rejection. And she will feel that on some level, and it can motivate her to reach out, but you have to stick to the plan and stay away. If you must absolutely talk to her for some reason or another, remember to keep it stoic. This is not the time to be emotional. It is time to keep things brief and move forward because the decision has already been made. And the more emotionless, brief, and assertive you can be, the better. You also want to watch out for another trap, and that's the trap of needing closure in your mind. Because it is usually just an excuse to hook up with the girl again or get into some drawn out emotional conversation that just leaves you emotional at the end. The closure has already been established with her decision. Her decision to dump you or cheat on you is the closure. That's everything you need to know. You don't need to hug her one last time or sleep with her one last time or have her tell you something for the last time. You already got the message of rejection, and now it's time to move forward and become better from it. And the point of not contacting her is to allow the scab to form over the wound, and from there, let the scab fully heal. If you keep wanting closure or contacting her or throwing little breadcrumbs out yourself, that scab just keeps getting picked off and it'll never heal. Or worse yet, it'll turn into an infection that just hurts you more and more. Now, another mind game is that in-between time when you're still vulnerable and not fully over her yet. And this is a danger zone because your ex may try to come back or reach out, and you may be susceptible to making bad decisions out of emotion. The only way to get through this phase is to remind yourself that logic has to prevail over emotion, which usually means that you will have to ignore the feeling of wanting her around and push through on willpower and discipline alone. The thought to keep in mind is that this woman rejected you and did not want you, and you can do better than that. So stick to the plan no matter how you feel or whatever persuasion she tries to pull on you. But another thing is you have to remind yourself that you were also in love with the image of who you thought she was and not who she actually is. And that the person you thought she was wouldn't have done this. So by definition, the girl that you're in love with in your mind doesn't actually exist, and you are in love with a mirage. And with no contact, you have to implement it in order to take a stand against the rejection and bad treatment of you. Otherwise, you are allowing her to have her cake and eat it too, as I said before. Because by taking her back or speaking with her when she wants, you are essentially saying, you know what, you can treat me however you want, it's fine. I'll accept it all, and if you want me to just be an option that you come back to when you want, that's fine too. You can obviously see the problem with that, so do not do it. Now, another important mindset shift to make is understanding how to allow this situation to fuel you to recover and become better from it. Some people will say to not let anger or being upset fuel you and that you should want to recover and work on things for yourself, but I actually disagree. I think that all the emotions that make up the grieving process can be incredibly powerful fuel if you channel them correctly. The way you don't want to channel those feelings of sadness and anger is by hurting someone else or sending long emotional texts or lashing out in some way. But you do want to use those feelings as motivation to stick to your plan and to stick to the schedule, knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other in the right direction. The other motivating factor to keep in mind is that your ex has already taken steps to move on by dumping you or cheating on you, and you should hate the idea of allowing her to get ahead of you on the path to recovery. Now, of course, we all recover at a different rate, and you must go through the full spectrum of emotions to fully heal. So you don't want to try and artificially rush the process just for the sake of beating her to the finish line or whatever. But it is a thought that you can use to motivate you when you're feeling down and like you don't want to do anything, which is bound to happen at some point. So my ultimate point with this is to channel the negative thoughts and energy and transmute them into a positive energy force that will act like rocket fuel to keep you moving forward. And while you're doing that, you're gonna want to stick to the no contact rule if you want to fully get over her. So make sure to watch this video next, where I talk about the no contact rule and why it's incredibly powerful for getting through a breakup and how you can do it better.